Hello everyone, welcome to today's tutorial. If you are new on this channel, you are absolutely welcome. To our old subscribers, welcome back. Today our tutorial is going to be focused on how to make or cut a shorts. So if you are yet to subscribe to this channel, please do well to subscribe, like this video, and let's jump right into today's tutorial. Okay, so I have this material here. Actually, it's just a lining. I'm going to be using it just for this tutorial purpose. This way and fold it into two. Then the biggest part of this person will be the lap. You need the circumference of your lap. That is the biggest part of the lap. So divided by 2. So the person I'm going to be using, the person's measurement, the lap circumference is 24, and that is divided by 2 will give me 14. So this is 13. It will not be enough. So I'll still fold it a little bit more. Check it again. This is about 16. This is fine. So this is what we're going to be using. So this is a short, so it's not going to be extending down. We'll be dealing with the front part of the trouser. Normally most people don't add their allowance to the front part, because if you notice trousers, the front is usually smaller than the back. So that's what we're going to be doing now. I want to get a line that will be my starting point line. Alright, so we've gotten our baseline. I have marked it out. This will be where we'll start our markings from. Alright, so this will be serving as our waist. So let's go into marking it on the fabric. So we've gotten our waist measurement. And remember, the total length of this short is 20. I'll be adding a belt to it. And the measurement of the belt is 2.5 inches. It depends on how wide you want your belt to be. Some people make it 3 inches. Some people make it 1.5 inches, 2 inches, just depend on how you want it. And the belt is going to add to the length of the trouser, so I won't be adding the belt measurement. So I'll be removing the belt measurement from the measurement of the trouser. So if the length, as I said, is 20 or whatever length you are using, I'm going to be removing the measurement of the belt, which my own is 20. I'll be removing 2.5. Removing 2.5 will giving me 17.5. So it's 17.5 I'm going to be using for the total length of my trouser. So 17.5. Some people will just, instead of starting from this point, okay, it is 2.5 I want to use. So I'll just place this 2.5 points on top of the waist measurement. And I'll just measure 20 and mark it. And then I'm going to add the folding in allowance. I'll just be using 2 inches. Depends on how much you want yours to be. I'll be using 2 inches. So I'm done marking it out. This is the 2 inches folding in allowance. So we are done with the length or the short. Then there is something I'm going to do next so that I don't forget. If I don't do it now, it's very likely I'm going to forget at the end of my markings. So I'm going to take 1/2 inch. I'm just going to mark 1/2 inch here all the way up, because I'm going to be joining this trouser to the band, and I'm going to be joining it by 1/2 inch. So I'll just add 1/2 inch. This to join. I'm going to also add this 1/2 inch to the belt. All right, so 2.5 I'm still going to start from here. This is just the addition, but I'm going to still start my measurement from this line that I had marked from the beginning. So my waist to my hip point is 10. So I'm just going to mark 10. Then if at all I did not take this thing up, I'll just be marking 2.5 minus 10, which will give me 7.5. So I'll just mark 7.5. See, it's about the same line, so it's still the same thing. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the crotch depth. Crotch depth is 12, so I'm going to mark 12. we have this as the waist. This is the hip measurement, while this is the crotch. So this is the hip, this is the crotch. So what we're going to do now is to mark our hip on this hip line. Hip divided by 4. Remember, we're not adding any allowance at the moment, but if you are using an Ankara material, please add about 1 inch to your hip circumference. If your hip circumference is 39, you add 1 inch, making it 40 to give it freedom allowance, because most times Ankara materials are not too tight. Trousers especially, they are not really tight on the person's body, but it depends on your preference. The hip circumference is 40, divided by 4 will give me 10. So I'm just going to mark 10 on this hip line. Okay, I've marked the hip measurement. So on this crotch line, the lap circumference that you've taken, the circumference of the person's lap, is what you're going to be marking on this crotch. The person's lap is 28, divided by 2 will give me 14. So I'm just going to mark 14 here. Also, if it's an Ankara material, you should add freedom allowance to this lap circumference when you want to mark it on the crotch line. Just depends on you, but it's really advisable for you to do that. So I'm just going to mark 14 here, and I'm going to take this line up and bring it down. So for it to be easier for me, I'll just mark 10 here. I already know it's 10 that is here, since it's just that line I want to bring it down. Then I just come here and mark 10, just for it to be easier for me. Alright, next we need our curve ruler. So I'm just going to use my curve ruler to curve this line from this line that we just marked to this point, which is the lap circumference divided by 2. So next thing we are going to do is to get our waist circumference. The waist circumference of this person is 30. 30 divided by 4 will give me 7.5. So from this line that I've marked on this waist, I'm just going to mark it to this side. I'm just going to mark it to this side. So I'm just going to place my tape measure here and mark 7.5 here. So I'm just going to add 1 inch just in case you want to do a flap here, and you are going to be attaching your pocket as well. And in case of safety, even if you don't use it for all of those things I mentioned. So I'm now going to use my curve ruler to curve this point to where the crotch line is. Okay. So you see that it's not inside. That is, I did not curve it here to come and meet here. If I do that, it's going to reduce the size of these ones that we have marked. The next thing is to deal with the length. Okay, so I'm going to measure 1.5 inch here. So I'm going to measure 1.5 inch here. Why am I measuring 1.5 inch here? So that I could curve this. You know that it's not going to be straight, definitely. This part of the trouser is usually curved, so that I could curve it from this part here. But if you want to make yours 2 inches, it depends on you. So from this point, I'm going to use my curve ruler, and then I'm just going to curve it to this point, So what I'm going to do next is now I'll just draw a straight line here. I'm not going to curve that part. Remember that this is the allowance part, so I'll just draw a straight line. Okay, so we're going to move over to the circumference of this part. That is the length, where the length stops, divided by 2 is where you're going to be taking this. So this one is about, you can make it free if it's a short. So we're going to be using 20 for this part. So I'm just going to mark 20 inches. So I've marked 20 divided by 2, rather, not 20 inches, 20 divided by 2. So I'm going to come back down here and mark 20 divided by 2, which is giving me 10. Just mark it here. Then I would draw a straight line, just the way I did at the other side. Okay, so I'm going to use my curve ruler now to connect this part to this part, like this. So this is the part I'm going to be using. So I'll just place it this way, and then I'll just connect it. I hope it's as explanatory as possible for this front part. But before we finish, remember that this part of the trouser, they are not usually straight, especially the front. The front part of the trouser is not usually straight. So we're going to slant it a little by 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to take my tape measure and measure 1/2 inch. And then I will use my curve ruler to meet up with this line. Measure. Okay, I'm done. So we already have the slanted line. Remember, we added 1/2 inch already. So I'm just going to use 1/2 inch. This is seeing these broken lines is a reminder that I need to have add 1/2 inch. If I did not put these broken lines, I might forget. So just put 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. That's about it. So we're going to cut now. I'll just use this to separate it. Just okay, so I cut this place too. Okay, so this is the short. So I just took one piece, and it's the marked part of the frontal side, and then I'm just going to place it very close to this lining. I'm taking it down to the length. I need about 1.5 inches here. So let me measure it if it's going to be fine. Okay, this is like 2 inches, so it's fine. So the back side is where we're going to be adding all the allowance, and we're going to be adding a dart at the back side. This remaining this is where the front pattern stops, but the remaining fabric should be about 4 inches extra. Okay, so on this hip line, I'm going to measure 3 inches. I mark 3 inches. On the crotch depth, which stops here, I'm going to be measured 3.5 inches. I mark 3.5 inches. Okay. So 3.5 inches, 3 inches on the hip line, 3 inches on the crotch depth, 3.5 inches. Then on this knee, or the length of the shorts, I'm going to be measuring 2.5 inches. All right, so we are done with that. So on this line, add 2 inches here. For 1 inch is for the dart, because you'll be adding that to the back part, and 1/2 inch is for joining the two parts of the back trouser together, and will also accommodate the front joining as well. So I'm going to mark 2 inches here. Okay, so I'll be drawing a straight line here. From this point. Okay, so from that straight line, which is this 3 inches point, I take my curve ruler and curve it to this end. So from this point, I'm now going to use my curve ruler to, just the way this part is, to curve it to this 2.5 inch point. So the next thing we're going to do is to take care of the waist now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to connect this line to this line. Then I'm going to mark from this end, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches up. I'm going to use my ruler to this end, which I just brought out the line. Okay, so remember that we are going to add a band, so 1/2 inch will be marked. All right, so the back part is ready. Okay, so I cut it now. Right, so this is the back part and this is the front part. The last thing you need to do on your back piece is to mark your darts. Remember, we have a dart, so you just place this together in an equal way, and then you just notch the center of it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this tutorial was helpful one way or the other. If it was, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share this video as well. And if you have any questions regarding today's tutorial, please don't forget to drop it in the comment section, and see you in the next video. Bye.